Elise in the jungle. We spoke to a number of people last night. Dandin specifically said
ban Elise.
Ban Elise jungle.
And they didn't. So we'll see if they end up going with this. The thing, though, is they actually say you ban it because they'll go top or jungle with it. And when you look at their picks here, they could go Lee Sin top, Elise jungle, or the other way around. So we'll be able to see whether Psycho, I guess Squid is his name for this tournament, and Nintendo X decide where they want to go with that, but they've locked in the Elise. I know personally that Elise's ganks from the jungle are amazing.
Yeah, because he can come from quite a distance.
You have the repel up there.
Boom, straight up. Sure.
950 range blink, I think, from the jungle. Will apply red buff right afterwards. It's pretty sick.
Pretty crazy. So what are we expecting, Jan? Team Tower Dive, last pick.
Let's take a look here. The Shen and the Xin Zhao probably lock this in. They're going to go for a mid here. I'd almost expect them, if they're going to go crazy, to try to pick an AD mid of some type, if it could be like a Talon or a Jarvan, and just try to go all in onto them here, because the mid laner that FeaR has picked in Rise isn't that mobile, and if you really try to attack it, especially coming in as TowerdiveTV, as the underdogs in this one, they got to try to go with something a little bit unconventional and a little bit crazy.
So let's see what they're going to pick in there. Just a couple of seconds remaining. You can just see the youthfulness in these players. The baby faces almost to me.
So many of these guys have come from living with their parents, first year university, just graduated high school. It's crazy how young the League of Legends scene was when we had, you know, all of them up in a group for dinner last night. I was like, man, there's a lot of youth in this room.
Yeah.
And that's coming from me.
Yeah,
so.
Just imagine how I feel. I was like, damn, I'm old enough to be your father, man. But Lux has been picked in. Lux in the mid versus Rise, choosing to stay the distance away.
So, as these teams go, that's actually a very standard setup for Team Tower Dive. They're not really taking any risks. They decided to counterpick a little bit. So, Team Tower Dive is going to be all about the Sona Ezreal lane. Has to work. Otherwise, they're pretty much done for it. They let Nunu get going, they're going to be messed up. As for FeaR, they got what they wanted, really. The people that have scouted them, as in Dandin, know not to let them have Elise. Not to let them have Elise in the top lane. But all those things were able to get through. So, FeaR's sitting pretty right here.
Okay, all your eggs in one basket, ladies and gentlemen, because remember, this is... I mean, how to explain this? It's like the IPL stage. It's a Korean-style group stage. Basically, you win this game, you get one win, and the loser plays the loser, the winner plays the loser. So, meanwhile, on Stream 2, there is a Stream 2 streams all day long. It's going to be Good Game University versus Epic Gaming. So the winner of that will play the winner of this, and the loser of this will play the loser of that. And that will be how we decide things. You're going to get a 2-0, a 0-2. That team is going to be out. So 2 games time, one of these teams...
2 games and you're out of the tournament.
...is out of the tournament. I mean, that's brutal, but that's how it's going to be. I mean, there's a lot of teams to get through. And just look at the pressure. You can see their faces, see how they are set up. They are in the new studio here. Of course, the red team on your screen. And the blue team of Team FeaR as they prepare themselves. What would you go through, Jat? These are the last motions.
Honestly, you got to make sure your hands are warm. That's the thing that happens right before these games in the picks and bans. Your hands just get freezing. Sometimes I just sit on my hands right before or use hand warmers just to get the blood flowing, because
get the adrenaline flowing.
That's your only instrument to get into your character and go on the game. Is if your hands aren't warmed up, you're not going to play well.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you've just joined us, it is Season 3. You can see it right there on your screen. It is underway. It is the qualifiers. It's FeaR as the blue team, Team Tower Dive as the red team. Jat, are we going to see a level 1 fight?
From the looks of it, these guys have very defensive formations. You can see all of them spreading out completely wide, just blocking off all the jungle entrances. We might see a little bit of poking back and forth. You can see the ward has been spotted out by Team Tower Dive for Team FeaR, and they're just pinging everywhere, almost predicting the other team's going to invade, but it doesn't look like we're going to see much.
And surely this, I mean, the nerves have got to play such a huge part right now. This is so tense. The first minute of the game, you do not want to give away that big level 1 fight. You don't want to go 0-3 at the start. And
especially in a group stage like this, where you just said 2 games and you're gone.
Yeah.
You don't want to make mistakes, and even Team Tower Dive isn't willing to take the big risk right at the start to potentially get a 3-0 level 1 fight, and FeaR definitely not coming in as a strong favorites. So you'd expect FeaR to be playing this conservatively early.
And it doesn't look like they're setting up for any late engages either. Sometimes you'd often see them sort of become more of a commonplace in Korea, I guess, as the 1 minute 40 invades, but it doesn't look like anything like that's going to happen. So, Jat, looking like the lanes are going to lay themselves out. It is going to be an Elise top, judging by this, against, I'm going to say Xin Zhao. I'm just waiting to see whether he's going to head north or not.
And that's actually a really clever play that Squid was doing with Elise Spiderlings there. He has one of them on each side of the wall, so he's actually scouting the river without putting himself in any trouble. As you can see, he was preventing against the invade. And yeah, that top lane, Elise versus Shen, he's really going to try to bully Elise, one of the strongest lanes in the game.
Yeah, and Shinzao sticking around here. Is he going to be taking the red buff? Yes, he is. So it's going to be a red buff Shinzao top.
Wow, they're really going for the lane, and we need to pay more attention to this top lane because they're just going to try that delayed gank almost immediately onto Squid. But he's playing it very safe. He kind of senses something's up. This will be interesting. Scouts the wrong brush with that Spiderling. As soon as he goes up, they're going to go.
He's gone a little bit too far. There's the taunt. There's the knockup's going to come out. And in a moment, he manages to get a flash.
Wow.
There is first blood straight away. Yurek Mazzino on there, and that's a red buff. And that is a big, big difference because that top lane can snowball hard.
And we thought that Team TowerDive wasn't doing anything crazy at the start with no jungle invade, but that was their crazy strat. All in, really. Shen giving up his red buff to Xin Zhao to allow him to snowball that lane is a huge investment. So really, it's on Yurek Mazzino to try to make something happen up top.
And now, unless I'm seeing things differently, they didn't clear out the red cam.
They didn't finish it off, but something we have to notice in the bottom lane, they also gave blue buff to Ezreal.
Oh,
so
yes.
Shen is supporting his lanes by giving up his own jungle from the start. We'll have to see
Snoopy
if that
style.
works out. That's more than Snoopy style. Both buffs to both of your lanes is a crazy investment.
So, and you can see the poke in this bottom lane. This is where the pressure is also going to get laid out. The fact that Ezreal now has that blue buff, you expect him to just really try and bully Cosmo.
They have to try to bully here, and it's the poke composition with Sona and Ezreal. It's just adding to that. They're really trying to supplement their lanes, knowing that they may not have the technical skill to beat some of these guys from here. They're trying to get the edge.
Smithy going very low. You can see Shen back up the top there. Didn't manage to get onto Elise. He was waiting for Psycho Squid to try and push forward. But, well, Team TowerdiveTV is starting off really well. Let's have a look at the mid lane, and that's going to be Lux versus Rise. What are we thinking here?
This one, at least since all the attention has been top and bottom, should be all right for Mandatory Cloud. If Rise can farm against Lux, who is much higher range than him, he should be all right. Mandatory Cloud is known for really taking over that mid lane sometimes, but XZev, level 2 Shen, really trying to camp that lane and get something happening. But with the way the lane's pushing, I think ManCloud's safe farming.
So at the moment, the farm looking across the board, of course, top lane definitely out farming. He got that kill already, has gone back, and now he's got a Brutalizer.
So Xin Zhao coming in with that Brutalizer is going to be so scary. XZev will try to support with ganks, and they might look to Tower Dive Psycho Squid up there, but of course in the bottom lane, how is that poke actually going? The blue buff resulting in only about a 7 minion kill lead. We'll see if they can get more of that.
And that's not a great deal when you consider they're poking so much, but we can see up the top lane, sneaking into that bush completely unseen. XZev is sat there ready and waiting, and Psycho Squid, if he steps that little bit forward, he is going to find that Brutalizer going directly up his posterior, and there is no way he's going to be able to avoid the damage. Meanwhile, down the bottom, though, we can see he's coming in. It's going for the support player. Can they manage to catch on towards Sona? Muffin Cutie tries to slow him down with an Ice Blast. It's not going to be enough, and they escape the victory.
So they managed to burn the flash in the bottom lane, and a great scout with that spider. That's where he threw it at the start of the game. That didn't save his life. The only problem here, though, is his lane is pushing up in the top lane, so he will get denied if Shen decides to keep presence in that brush.
He is keeping there, putting a poison down on towards him, but he's just sticking around in there. How much is this going to delay the jungler? Because he is actually technically picking up the experience. He's leeching the experience off Yurek Mazzino here.
The only thing we have to look at to see how far behind he is the minion kills. He's got 4 minion kills. He has just been a roamer right now. And Lee Sin again with the gank bot. No flash this time for Koso.
Koso in all sorts of trouble, and he will get taken down. It's Zuna that picked him up as well, and a great gank. They worked hard for that one.
That was the second time they went back. Really, persistence and experience paying off for them there because they knew the flash was down. They knew that Team TowerDive was pushing up so hard to try to keep the poke up, and they were just able to punish with a Nunu Snowball and an extended Lee Sin gank.
Meanwhile, Lee Sin been sitting down in that bottom there. You say the fact the minions, oh, XZev's just stood on top of a ward there. Psycho Squid's not falling for these tricks. His lane, though, is pushed heavily, so he's got to go up to try and keep the experience off. And you can see XZev now heading back down the river. So, let's take us through the lanes. As they are, 6 minutes into this game, Jad, how are we seeing this one lay out? We had a great first blood, but that was a good comeback on the bottom lane.
And all the attention has been paid up top here. You can see Squid still getting out minion killed, but he's keeping the levels up. They're trying to persistently gank him, but he is able to stay away. And even though his CS is getting doubled and then some by Xin Zhao, it's paying off because X-Smithy in the jungle is up 31-6 on Shen.
Absolutely destroying at the moment. Let's see how things play out. And we can start talking about the items maybe. The new items that everybody's picking up as Lux gets a burst from Mandatory Cloud. He hits level 6. Expect Cybolic to probably reply with a laser of his own in a moment. But we see the items. Very different starts from both teams.
And the thing was, at the start of the game, 3 members went for Crystalline Flask on FeaR, but only 1 member went for it on Team TowerDive. So you can really see the extended lane sustain. That's almost an investment when you buy that item early. So they didn't quite get the edge right at the start, but now it's going to start paying some dividends. Surprisingly, though, just the overall gold spread is still even on here. So Team TowerDive doing a lot early on.
How much of a disadvantage is this? XZev has just been living in that top lane. He's not even touched his jungle. You can see everything is up.
Right now, it's not that big of a disadvantage. If he continues to never get farmed, it's going to be a big deal, but the fact that the team itself is staying fine, and if he's given Yurik Mizzino enough of an edge in that top lane, it'll be worth it. Because if he can press that, it won't matter that Shen's been losing.
And they realize that Shen is still in that top there. They're coming in to steal away the blue. Smith is there. Mandatory Cloud comes across, takes it away, no problem.
That's the reaction you have to put when you essentially have a 2-1 lane up top. You don't have an actual jungler for Team TowerDive right now. So that's experience coming in again from Xmithy. Great blue steal.
Oh, I think he just scouted. Thought he got away with it. A flash engage there. They're going to get on towards Xmithy. They do finally make it count. Yurik Mizzino gets the second kill.
And immediately Xmithy tries to come down and get the dragon. They really need to make something happen because Squid is just getting destroyed up there in the top lane. It's because they have a 2v1 lane and they're not supporting him. This is I'd almost say new strategy for Team TowerDive. I have not seen a jungler spend that much time up top lane, and we'll see if it pays off because the gold, with the dragon being taken by FeaR, is still even.
It's looking like they could go for the blue. They could go for this blue steal, but they're not going to do it. They're both backing off. They haven't pushed the tower, so that's a dragon switch. So gold is actually still in FeaR's favor, despite the fact they're 2-0 down in that top lane. 57-16 CS in that top lane. How much of a disadvantage will this be? Because surely Psycho Squid can just farm it up later. He's being sat on right now, but surely he can gain it back.
That's the plan for him, but that was an interesting choice by Team TowerDive, not taking the turret. Because if they would have taken the turret, he could have frozen it on his side and kept farming. But with the turret staying up there in the top lane, Yurik Mizzino and XZev are going to continue to try to punish.
And how much is it going to punish Cybolic? The fact that he hasn't been able to pick up that blue buff yet.
For Cybolic, I don't think it's going to hurt him that much. I mean, you can just look at the minion kills right now. It's 81-69, which is a little bit off, but if you compare that for the advantages they're gaining in the top lane, it's probably worth it. He's getting his experience, he's not falling too far behind in gold, and as long as ManCloud doesn't start punishing with shoving and roaming, which Ryze kind of has a tough time doing, it's going to be okay for Team TowerDive.
And I believe I just saw the red buff being given across to Shinzao in that top lane. Yep, Yurik Mizzino, there it is.
Again.
So he's got that red buff once again, so he's just going to be looking to bully Squid out there. Blue buff's still up on Team FeaR.
And this is actually going to be, this is where it's going to come into play, because if ManCloud gets the back-to-back blue buff, the window for Cybolic to recover in mid lane against a blue buff Ryze is gone. Because if they can just cycle both blue buffs, he's going to have it all the time.
And here comes XZev. He's going to get spotted by that ward. Actually, no, I think he just... Oh, now he is going to walk straight into that ward. Just warding out the river, and Squid's like, yep, not falling for that one. Straight away back. But they haven't looked once. They've not even attempted to try and counter that jungle yet.
No, and it's essentially been Xmithy farming the jungle and ganking bottom once, versus XZev not farming and just living top. And the trade-off between that has actually not been as bad as I thought it would be. Team TowerDive really stayed in this one a little bit.
I'm intrigued to see what sort of runes he might be using. This is one of the moments that I'd really like to look and see if there's something he's specifically picked up in his runes of masteries that would basically benefit in the fact that he is just going to live in that top lane.
The only thing he'd want to do at some point is a bit of gold per 10, but as a jungle Shen, you know, it doesn't really come in top, and you can just see Shen is living up there with Shinzao. Elise actually doing a smart thing here. Squid leaving the lane, going to jungle, because they've explicitly said, Team TowerDive has, they're not pushing that tower, and they're trying to deny Squid as long as possible. This is the counter to that. He should have went to his jungle earlier.
We are seeing some damage from Mandatory Cloud, trying to get on towards that mid lane. XZev does come around and finally forces him away. Plays a little bit of a babysitting role, finally coming down. And actually, that's given a heck of a lot of free farm. 77 CS to 29 in that top lane. So the big difference starting to gauge its gap. But meanwhile, down the bottom, it's still only 89 to 79. So still just a 10 CS difference between that. And that surely benefits Kog'Maw.
And when you look at that...
Oh, mid lane, they're going to go to XZev.
Whoa!
He's going to get taken down low, and that's what you talked about. Psycho Squid, the damage, the distance he can just close, and they even made push down the mid turret here. Massive play from FeaR.
That must have felt really good for Squid, getting revenge on the Shen, who's just been annoying him by camping his lane the entire game. Jumps in, gets a kill, and at this point, that's the great play they make. Support Muffin Cutie coming up. They're going for this turret.
Koso comes up to try and keep them away from that turret, but Mandatory Cloud keeps beating on him. Muffin Cutie, like you said, had put the Blood Boil across, but that's going to be the crescendo across. Doesn't manage to catch him. Mandatory Cloud just got the flash in time.
And Yurik Mizuno actually trying to catch out Squid going into that top lane. Got at least down to about half health. He's got a 2-level edge, and to prevent against the tower dive, Xsmithy's going to roam up and support that, but he was seen by the ward. I don't think much is going to happen with this 2v1.
While this is all happening, the bottom lane has started to balance out. Kog'Maw now 92 to 94, gained that 10 CS difference and starting to pull it back, and he's going to become a danger.
Especially with the Blood Boil from Nunu. That's what everyone has been complaining about, in all honesty, is just the power that Nunu adds to these AD carries. You can see Nunu's actually put 4 points in his Blood Boil, so permanently he's adding 55% attack speed to Zuna. That's like 1,500 gold worth of attack speed, so when they're actually dueling each other, it's a huge edge for Zuna and Muffin Cutie in that lane.
Oh, meanwhile, top lane, they're going on towards Smithy, but Lee Sin can be a slippery character. Psycho Squid's up there as well, and they're taking Yurik Mizuno down very low. Here comes the Stand United from point blank on towards him. Smithy's still taking down very low. Yurik Mizuno, they have to avoid this one.
Man-Cloud's coming.
Man-Cloud is coming around the side there. They try and get the taunt, and there goes Psycho Squid. This is going to feel so good for him. And Zebes goes down as well, and wow, FeaR just showing their experience and turning it around.
And I'm really surprised the Team Tower Dive decided to go for that Tower Dive, because they knew it was a 2v2. They saw the wards. They planned. Shen came up after he saw Xsmithy go up there. They willingly went into a 2v2 Tower Dive, and then Cybolic knew that was going to happen and still got beaten roaming top by Man-Cloud. That was an outplay by FeaR, but mainly just, I feel like, a lapse of judgment by Team Tower Dive.
And you also need to question the fact that why did Cybolic not follow?
He knew exactly what was going to happen, and Lux has the longer range than Ryze. I think the biggest reason he wouldn't have followed is he knows he would have lost to Mandatory Cloud in a 1v1. If at any point, since he got a slight jump, Mandatory Cloud did, there would have been no way for him to follow exactly behind.
As you can see down this bottom now, Zuna really is starting to turn this into his lane. He's bullying, he's pushing that tower, and he's going to take it down. Zuna is shredding the difference. So, first turret of the game will go to FeaR, despite the fact now they're going to turn on towards No, Kisuke just backs away. And, well, he avoids the damage. But 4-2 Jat, 1-0 in turrets. The gold very much in FeaR's favor, 3k difference. Despite that awesome start they had, it's kind of backfiring. It's
starting to backfire. I mean, some of the laning sustain with those crystalline flasks does have to do with it. A few of the small mistakes they made. I think also the fact that XEV has fallen so far behind in farm is hurting them. At this point, they really have to kind of start to panic and try to make something happen. The big item pickup I want to mention here is the Sword of the Divine plus the Brutalizer on Xin Zhao. When he pops that for his 3 talent strike, that's 3 crits in a row, and he's going to pop somebody. They have to make something happen fast with that item, otherwise it's going to lose its effectiveness.
Well, he has picked up red buff, so we'll see if he tries to make any moves on Psycho Squid at the top, but of course he has managed to pick up quite a bit of damage, and that's straight away Cybolic getting called out again, and that's just the burst. That's just the 1v1 you were talking about.
He's got to be able to stay away from range of that time. Ryze has a very, very short range. Cybolic has an incredibly long range with Lux. And if he gets caught out by those rune prisons, he's going to be in trouble for the rest of the game.
Wow, just sitting off Smithy. He knows he's not visible. He was waiting for the blue buff to spawn, actually. Of course, they'll have the timer on it. They picked it up in the last instance. And they are 3-manning in the middle, 4-manning in the middle. Oh, they've caught onto one, and he's going to have to taunt away, but that means it's going to push pressure on towards the mid. Of course, Zuna has come up there with Nunu, so they're just going to hammer that turret down.
If they need to go, this is the time for Team TowerDive to come in. You can see all 5 members of both teams collapsing in. The turret's very low. They know they're going to try to push it. They've got to try maybe a flash crescendo or something to make something happen, because if they don't, they're going to get bled out by FeaR.
True Shot Barrage flashes past, but doesn't really manage to find a home. And you can see that turret, well, it's got nothing left. Zuna just needs to have 1 or 2 shots on it, but they do back away from this one. Dragon is up. Nobody's really making a move for that, Jat. What's the sort of situation here? What a Tower Dive got to do to turn this into their favor?
Either go for a dragon or repel a push from FeaR, in all honesty, because they're losing the laning phase. They have some immediate help items with that Sword of the Divine, and the Bloodthirster being completed onto Kisuke. whereas you see Kog'Maw just has the BF sword and the pickaxe, so they might corner themselves into Dragon here. Even though they might not win this fight, this is the chance they have to take. They need a fight right here if they want to come back.
They're trying to get the burst damage down. They're going to turn it around. They do manage to catch on. Muffin Cutie taking down very low. There comes the taunt. Sao going in. He's going to go towards Psycho Squid, but there comes Zuna around the backside. Zuna cleaning up now. And K2K is going to get dropped as well. Muffin Cutie on absolutely nothing, but it does not matter because Zuna is cleaning house. He picks up the triple kill, and that was a great turnaround for FeaR. All they had to do was wait for Zuna.
And that was just a matter of the initiation not happening together. They got the start on Yurik Mizzino. He took a lot of damage early, and the crescendo didn't quite lock up FeaR like they needed it to during that fight. And since they didn't get the right initiation, FeaR's superior gold advantage at this point, and also just team synergy because they've been together for so much longer, they just fought more crisply. They had better focus on targets, and now they're extremely far ahead.
And I thought for a moment Zuna was out of position, but he just came down. They, like you say, they tanked up the damage. They could take it, and it's just the targeting, the priorities maybe a little bit off that. As you can see, the goal differences across the lanes. It's fairly even, and the fact that Psycho Squid is now ahead, despite the fact he's 69 to 116, he's now ahead in the gold.
Oh no, so with the entire first 12 minutes of the game being a 2v1, they still haven't gotten the lead on Elise. And at that point, you've lost your Gambit. Their Gambit was the 2v1 up top, and it hasn't worked so far. You look at the rest of the items onto FeaR right now, and that last fight where they tanked everything up, it's only going to get worse for them because the Sunfire Cape Rush for Squid has been there, but the Aegis has been completed onto xSmithy, and just Rise in himself as an AP mid is a tank right there. So it's too much right now for Team TowerDive to take down in fights. They'd have to find a way to stall it out or something.
Wow, 18.5 minutes. Team FeaR are going for Baron.
They just saw that Ezreal and Sona were in the bottom lane. This is mainly a ploy to stop them from farming and pull them together again as a team. They had to run up. They're going to try to get a pick somewhere, but mainly they weren't trying to get that Baron.
They're going for X7, and now they catch him. They do manage to get the burst down. Lee Sin's in there. Mandatory Cloud finishes it off.
Just great bait there from Baron. They knew they were going to collapse in, and they just didn't. They underestimated, Team TowerDive did, the engagement range of FeaR right there. Great pick.
They're collapsing on the top lane, and Yurik Mizzino in trouble now as Smithy continues his reign. He has got his ulti up. There it is. Kicks straight in towards Squid. Thank you very much. Webs him there. Nothing he can do.
That's one of the most classic plays by Lee Sin, as Squid just kind of bails and gets the tower.
You're going to take the tower damage, not me. Thanks.
It's the ward jump to kick backwards. A lot of times when people were first playing Lee Sin, they'd burn Flash to do that. Then they said, wait a minute, I could just build a Sightstone and do that for free at this point. So really good execution there by xSmithy, and the snowball is almost continuing here. Team TowerDive holding on by a thread at their second tier top turret here.
10-2, it looked all fine in the start, but honestly, Team FeaR have just turned the engage around. True Shot Barrage flashing past, only catching Psycho Squid, and again the damage, the poke from Zuna from range is strong.
And xSmithy just going in underneath the turret. They're just trying to bleed them out here. Look at how low they're getting. Wow. They have to do something.
Absolutely smack damage right there. Crescendo was not enough, and they're going to turn it around towards XM. XM is just not tanky enough to fight 5 members of the team. Zuna is ripping apart the tower meanwhile, and KCK needs to stay away as well, and he's just going to have to back off. And FeaR, they're going where they please right now.
And you say XM wasn't tanky enough, and that's exactly what happens when your Gambit doesn't pull off in top lane. He's a support shed. That's honestly what he is. They had a support bottom in Koso and support top in an XF Shen. They didn't have a jungler this game, and you really saw the fact he just hasn't gotten to his items there. He can't frontline at all against FeaR.
Mandatory Cloud cleaning up. I didn't think like they was going to try and get some picks there, but they didn't really want to go too deep in towards that invisible bush. Cybol is going to pick himself up the blue buff, the first blue buff of the game. He's been able to get away from FeaR, even despite the fact it has been in his own jungle. Smithy picking up the red. So, Jack, items across the board. What are we seeing? Anything fancy, anything new?
The fanciest thing I'd have to say would be the double Ruby Sightstone on FeaR. Lee Sin picking it up is going to help him just make a jungle gym of the enemy map and just kind of hop around wherever he wants. And Muffin Cutie, just Ruby Sightstone is fine for him. You look across to the other side, and Team TowerDive just hasn't been able to keep up. You couldn't get the Ruby Sightstone on your jungle because he didn't have gold, and the support AD lane didn't get any kills or objectives, so they haven't been able to complete their Ruby Sightstone either. They haven't even gotten boots yet on a couple members, which is okay for the most part, but just overall, the gold lead is really showing in the items as the auras have been completed on FeaR and no auras for Team TowerDive. Frozen Heart and Aegis both coming in for FeaR as they siege down yet another turret.
And that's it, they actually have the poke range. The fact that they can just get in there. Oh wow, KCK just getting completely burst down there. And ManCloud putting a heck of a lot of damage, completely forcing the AD carry away. Just simply caught out of position there, and Zuna just sieging it, as you mentioned.
And I don't see what Team TowerDive is going to be able to do against this. A lot of times when sieges happen like this is kind of why you pick Lux. When Lux is level 16 with cooldown reduction, she can laser every creep wave. But they're doing it before that point, so her laser's just not up frequently enough. She doesn't want to burn it, and they're just getting destroyed down.
Slowly taking the turrets. That's the second inner turret down, and it's the middle one. It's a big, important goal, and you can see immediately, FeaR just dispersed. They take over the entire jungle of Team TowerDive.
And this isn't the first time they've been in their entire jungle. I mean, they invaded the blue buff right at the start. Smithy did when Zev was trying to farm top. They're just making sure that all their side lanes are staying pushed. Right now, Team TowerDive is trying to get something happening in the bot lane, but look at the damage!
They tried to do something, but Mandatory Cloud turned it into a kill of their own. He flashes away, he may get taken down. No! The Prism came out, and now here comes Lee Sin. Smithy gets in, ulti kicks, Koso's gonna go down. He gets shredded by Zuna. Zuna just doing all the damage at range. He's just picking off as he pleases. Yurik Mazzino tries to come in there. He gets dropped by Muffin Cutie Pie. Meanwhile, Psycho Sid also gets in there. Zeve now just desperately trying to avoid the damage. He gets an Ice Blast. Zuna's going to come around the side. There's Elise. There's the range. Just pouncing straight in there. He's going to get the one more poison dot. The Ignite's there. And, well, Zuna tried to kill Secure, I think, with the ulti.
Well, you can't really blame Kog'Maw for trying to get more kills. You can't blame Squid for wanting even more revenge. I'd say he's gotten enough of it now. 6-2 Elise after getting completely camped from there with the ace. Instead of trying to push up an inhibitor, it looks like they're going for a Baron to take even more control of that game. Oracles by Muffin Cutie to clear out that Baron buff. They're going to rush this down. Huge amounts of damage coming out from Zuna and Muffin Cutie's consumed. King's coming down from Team TowerDive. They're going to try to steal with the Lux Laser, but that's going to be a tough task for Symbolic.
Yeah, they have no vision of it, so it's going to be pure prediction. It's too early, and it is going to be the Baron buff picked up by Team FeaR.
Now, at this point, it's a question of how quickly can FeaR finish this one, because they are very far ahead from Team TowerDive. They may already be thinking of their next match, but for this one, they have some pretty big goal totals, I'd imagine. Actually, no, a lot of them have went back and shopped. That's the smart thing to do. Kog'Maw getting that static shiv, that's one of the new Season 3 items. It's almost a replacement for Phantom Dancer. Frozen Hearts being completed, having the Aegis on Lee Sin. Warmog's getting completed for Squid, so the tower diving shouldn't be an issue. They have multiple people who can go in there and finish. I'd expect them to go either straight up mid or take the bot lane since there's still an outer turret there for FeaR, and then do the same kind of poke, arsenal harass that they've been doing against Team TowerDive, but this time with even more of a lead. It's incredibly difficult for Team TowerDive to come back at this point.
Well, Smithy catches the Q straight on Koso, but he's going to back away, but they have managed to completely catch out Zeves. The ulti kick, of course, from Smithy. There it is, straight in there, but the rest of his team weren't quite close enough, so kind of wasted a little bit there. Does manage to get the Q down. The rest of the team are going to collapse around, but it doesn't look like they're going to do anything other than sitting back. Looking like we're going to go across to second stream as well and see what is going on. It's going to be Epic. They're joining us. It is Epic. Wow, so okay.
That was a fast game.
That was a fast game. Good game, University versus Epic. That game is already over. You guys joining us here on the stream. And well, this one is looking very one-sided. It started off so well for Team TowerDive, but FeaR right now just sieging through the turrets.
At the very start of this game, you can see Zev only has 59 minion kills on Shen. He tried camping Squid the entire match. It hasn't quite worked out. The objectives were forced on FeaR, and with all the objective control, now a Baron buff as they siege in, going for this inhib and looking to end.
Here we go, you can see the tower. This is going to be the first inhibitor turret going down, and honestly there's not a great deal Team TowerDive can do about this, because FeaR are tower diving them. They are just ripping the inhibitor apart. You can see Zuna's just so strong right now. He's just going to pick this one off and just whack away again.
And if you're going to let your inhibitors and inhibitor turrets fall from full to zero without putting up a fight, you're basically saying it's over. So at the next inhibitor, they have to fight. Even if they think there's a 2% chance of them winning it, you can't let a team crush through your base without putting up an opposition. Otherwise, what are you playing for? Because, oh no, Yurik, you gotta get out of there, man.
Well, the Q came through from Smithy, but Smithy did manage to catch on to it. The question is, can the jungler now take down the top lane? Has he got enough damage? He certainly has. Just punts him around the map there. And well, Yurik Mazzino doesn't want anything to do with this one, because here comes Psycho Squid and Muffy Cutie. They put the blood boil down out towards Squid, and that is a clean kill for Zuna once again. Zuna now 6 0-7, and well, now they just can't fight for that top 3.
Yeah, now it's a 4v5, so they have to give away their second inhibitor. And at this point, they might just try to push in for the rest of it if they can get the super minions in. Look at the damage coming out from Mandatory Cloud. This game is getting ugly.
Yeah, you may have seen Zubu Blaze coming back from a triple inhibitor down, but honestly, they had a lot more closer game than this one. It is currently a 15,000 gold difference, and well, you can see FeaR, they're using fully their experience to just follow wave after wave and take down the inhibitors.
And they're playing the smart finish for this game. They haven't made any huge risks. The Barons were very controlled. They had an Oracles before that, and Man Cloud is on a rampage.
On a rampage, there goes Smithy diving a little bit deeper towards the turret there. Does manage to get poked up, but still not going to go down, except finally takes him down, but it's going to be the detriment of his own life, and Man Cloud cleans that one up. 6-0-5 for Mandatory Cloud, and FeaR are just continuing to push in. There's the Blood Boil on Zuna. They're going to take the inhibitor turrets and the Nexus turrets down. It is going to be Team FeaR. Well, who are they going to be facing? That is the question, because Epic versus Good Game, that finished even quicker than this match. That surprises me, but they are going to go up 1-0 in this group stage.
Yeah, so these guys play the winner of that FeaR versus Good, or of the Epic versus Good Game University, and that'll be up next on our stream for this one. And this was just, all honesty, Team TowerDive had a good opening.